Let me get set up here. Stay. Hey gang, what's up? This is part 2 of how I'm making my Master Sword for my cosplay. So many apologies for it being late. I'm basically working lots in the comic book store because I'm just so cool. So I haven't really had time to even make a lot more of it. I've properly advanced with it, but I've got a little bit of time to make like part 2 of the video to show you what I did. Last time we used, I think it was I think this is 5mm foam board. So we are talking fingers to scale. Although I've got very stubby fingers. That big foam board, and as you can see, it's very sort of stiff on its own without any form of support there. So what I did was, in the last video, I linked you to the guy who's awesome. Like, his swords are magnificent, and it's just like purely paper, pretty much. Linked you to him, and he had the schematics for the Master Sword, and I basically said to trace onto the foam board, which is easy enough. So obviously, all I did was I put some paper, sellotaped it to my screen, drew around it on as the scale that I wanted it to be. I think I made it a little bit bigger. I think his was a bit smaller, but I made it a bit bigger, so I wanted it a bit more, well, caricature-ish. So rather than like a normal size sword, I wanted it just a little bit bigger to make it a bit more cartoony, a bit more gamey, but still look serious enough. So I traced all of it. I guessed the length of the blade. I sort of compared it to... actually, what I got here, I didn't show you last time, is that I have a wooden training sword. And I can probably actually fit the entirety of the blade in the shot. There you go. I mean, that's how long it is, effectively. I don't know the length of this specifically. I haven't got a tape measure anywhere to hand. But, you can. I mean, it's not particularly long. I mean, I'd say it's 2.5 feet. Something like that, and the handle's quite long. You can see there. It's about a 3 and a bit foot sword. So I just sort of looked at that and went, oh, okay, that's the length that a sword should be. Bearing in mind that's a double-handed sword. So I guessed the length of it. I traced it on just with pencil, and I cut it out with a scalpel. Be very careful with that, by the way. I just got a cheap scalpel from an art store, cost me like £1, or if you are across the pond, $1,000. But no, it cost me, £1.20 for a cheap disposable scalpel. Be really careful with it. If you're a young person, get someone that knows what they're doing. So if they lop their finger off, they've got no one to blame but themselves. I don't want you guys doing that and getting in trouble with it. But it's easy enough to cut, and it's also easy enough to sand as well. But anyway, so I cut it out. Yeah, I don't think I said in my last video, be careful with scalpels and scissors and stuff. Be careful. Cut it all out. Make sure, you're not cutting it on your lap or anything stupid like that. Put it on a flat, stable surface with something underneath it so it can't slip, and just very carefully cut. I've actually got it here. I'm not going to show you. Not yet. So I cut that out. I actually found it best to cut it very basically around just with a pair of scissors first, and then go over it with the scalpel or Stanley knife or whatever. And then what I did was the lollipop sticks, which I stuck. I went one side first and the other side first. Literally just a single row. It was a single row along the handle, and then I went double along the blade because the Master Sword's quite a thick blade. I could have done it with one, sort of like one row as opposed to 2 side by side, but I just wanted to make sure it was properly secure, as it were. So I did that all the way up to the end, and then I put so I had 2 lollipop sticks either side going up the blade, and just one for the handle. So one for the handle up to the hilt, and then 2 either side, all the way along. And then I put, I think I did it again, the exact same, and then I put 1 more. So it's 3 layers of lollipop sticks on either side of the blade. So 2, and then another 2, and then 1 on top of that, going all the way up, just to give it some rigidity, which I think is a word. I'm not entirely sure. So I did that on either side. And with the handle, all that happened. The reason why I can't show you exactly what I did step by step is because I just suddenly had a day of going, it's like 2 weeks away, and I went mental on it. So I can't actually show you a step by step. I can guide you through. So I left that all to dry properly. And in terms of building the handle, I literally, so sort of like from end on, the handle is now that thick. I literally just put lollipop sticks at diagonals like that to make it kind of round. And then I just got some electrical tape and wrapped it round to make it look like grip tape. You can get grip tape. In fact, I'd recommend that because the paint that I used, or it might not even be the paint's fault, but when I spray painted it, the grip tape, the electrical tape doesn't really make the paint stick very well. So that's what I did. And really, I just, in terms of some extra detail and what have you, I just cut out some shapes out of some more of the foam board, or gator board, I think it's called. It's what the like architects use to build their models, and it's really good. Just cut out, in terms of like the pommel, like the end of the sword, I actually put two penny pieces on the end because I wanted it at least a little bit weighted, because all that weight on the blade, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to use it in battle. You're barely going to be holding it, because I'm going to have some sort of not a proper scabbard, but just like a leather loop that I can put it in, because I don't have the time to make a scabbard, and it's going to take forever, and I'm not 100% certain of my skill in terms of doing that. So I put 2 pennies on the pommel, which is the very end, which counterweights a sword. It doesn't 100% counterweight it. It's not like I'm going to throw it and it's just going to aim true as it flies through the air, because it's not for throwing. It's pretty much just for display. And I just sort of built foam, like the foam board around it in a sort of like square to give it some shape and to cover up the fact I've super glued 2 penny pieces to the end. And then just bits of card just to go over the gaps, because once you've covered it with a sort of layer of PVA glue, it'll all go smooth anyway, so you wouldn't really be able to see it. In terms of the blade itself, yes, I used a thick card. I cannot remember the weight of it, as long as it's, so not really, really thick, but thicker than your average card, so you can obviously still bend it. It's not like cardboard, it's just it's a heavier gauge, like, card for any arts and crafts place. I would say if you go to a basic arts and crafts store and just say, what's your heaviest gauge card, short of it being like almost a material or corrugated, that's the sort of thing you want. So as long as it's still a single layer flat normal card, just a heavier gauge. So I'm going to show you what I've done. There it is. The light in here is dreadful. It's actually a very awesome purple, as you can see there. Because a lot of people, for the Master Sword, think the handle's blue, and there's a lot of official things that portray it as blue. It's actually purple. I use the Hyrule Historia, which I shall show you again. Let's put my sword down for 2 secs. I should have got this ready earlier. My Hyrule Historia. It's badass. And there is a picture in here that shows it with its scabbard, and the scabbard is blue, just like the shield. However, you will see here it is, look. It probably won't show up very well on here. Okay, it's not too bad. Scabbard is a beautiful, like, royal navy blue, but the sword itself is actually purple. So there's a good contrast for you there. So the sword handle is purple and it's got some gold bits. So that's that. This is still a work in progress, however. That's not going anywhere. I'm not going to hit anything with it and I'm not going to go too mad, but look, it's absolutely straight. So it's pretty good. So what I did, as you can see on the blade here that I'll talk about, it's not tidy because it's done in sections. You can see the sections here. You can try and do it with one piece of card, and you might be lucky to get away with it. I only did it in sections just because it was easier for me to do it step by step along, and you can see on the other side as well. So that's my Master Sword at the moment. I need to put the details on. I need to put the Triforce on either side of there. I'm thinking of just getting some sort of darker metallic paint, maybe doing some sort of stencil of it, because I don't want it on there like black. I want it like a slightly darker silver, like a gunmetal. So I'm thinking like Games Workshop that do all the Warhammer 40k and Warhammer and Inquisitor and they've done Lord of the Rings stuff. I haven't collected it in years, but I think there's sort of like either chainmail or gunmetal paint that they do in very, very small pots, or you can try Airfix. The colour that I use for this, it's a spray paint, Plasticoat Fast Dry Project Enamel, and it gives it a really lovely sheen. I've given it a few coats. I sort of like don't do it too close because you'll sort of soak the card, which is kind of impossible to do. That paint's really good, but I just sort of sprayed it along there, and it dries almost in seconds. And I flipped it over and sprayed it, and then sort of left it hanging somewhere just to dry. And I gave it another couple of coats, and I made sure to go over the edges. Now, what I did with the edges, and I didn't do a particularly good job of it, as you can see there, but it's all completely covered with it. I edged it with PVA glue. I just got some on my finger, any PVA glue. You don't need anything fancy. And just sort of run it along all the edges and everywhere where the inside of the foam board was on show. So all along there. And as you can see, when you're doing the stencil, I cut 3 layers there. So 1, 2, 3. And I cut it in diagonals down there. So I stuck 1, 2, 3, 4. So I cut 4 of those out separately. And again, look, you can see the paint isn't 100% at all. So that's what I did. Grip tape on there. It's kind of still quite sticky. It's not wet at all. It's just, so maybe actually try some grip tape or something like that. I still need to find a way. I'll maybe just get some card and wrap it around. But there's some green that wraps around, just very thin strands of green that coil around it. So I think I'm just going to get some card and do that, and then paint it green with a paintbrush. The pommel that I was talking about, same sort of thing with this. You can see how layered it is there, and again I just went over it all with PVA glue. It's not professional. This is my very, very first attempt at making a sword, so there'll be some mistakes on it. There's 2 penny pieces in there, like I say, to weight it. You see there's many, many layers, and I basically sort of measured how wide I wanted it, which will be actually on the template that this guy uses. I sort of took that and went, well, I'll make it the same as it is wide, so it's almost sort of square. Built it around it, and these bits here it's just card, just to cover the gaps. So really, it's just a bit of common sense. Try some stuff, see if it works, but the basic core of this is that foam board, lollipop sticks, and then really it's up to you how you do it. I just sort of cut some details into it, again being really, really careful with any form of blade or scissors or anything like that. Some gold Airfix paint, which I need to go over again on that one. You need to shake the pot really well, because I tried to paint it just straight out, and because it's obviously got some sort of oil-based stuff in there to keep it from going weird, all I was getting was like slightly shiny oil. That was a bit better, but I just need to go over it again. And yeah, same with this bit here. I just built up on it. And like I said, the great thing is that you can sand with it as well. So I didn't use any form of blade to try and like carve it out, because that's dangerous. You will cut yourself. So I pretty much just sandpapered it. I cut it out and sanded it down. And when you glue, make sure that none of the glue sort of comes out between the layers. If it does, wipe it off, because when it comes to sanding it, you're up against dry PVA glue and it'll just start shredding and it'll be horrible. So it's just time and effort, really. But there you go. The purple paint that I used is a brand called Cobra. Amazon do this, but they don't do this colour. This was dark violet. Yeah, dark violet, Cobra 78. It was the closest I could. I think there was a purple, but it was really, really bright, and I didn't want it too bright. I just wanted it a bit darker. So that's really all I did. As I say, in the handle, you've got the one lollipop sticks going up through there like that, just sort of layered up to 3. You can see it's sort of the same thickness all the way through. And then for the diagonals to wrap round, so it's flat, and then I just put some lollipop sticks there and cut them with a pair of scissors from there to there. The lollipop sticks run through this bit. I just stuck the foam over the top and then layered up. And then it's a case of painting it how you want. I got some masking tape kind of stuff and sort of cut it into shape along here to spray paint this bit, and then I did the inverse of that with here and then spray painted the silver. I mean, you can see it sort of leaked a bit and went over, but I can spray some of this into a little like bowl, well ventilated, by the way. You're going to get high off it if you don't. It's a well ventilated room. I'm just going to paint with a very, very fine brush, just around there to tidy it up. Like I say, do the green bits around there. I'll make sure I do another video to explain what I did when I finished it. But yeah, make sure you PVA glue all around the edges, mainly because it will toughen it up and stop it from like fraying, because it is foam after all. It's quite tough until you start bashing it against things, which I won't be doing. I'll give you an idea for size again. I mean, I'm 6'1", and it comes to there on me. A lot of the swords that you see. Let me grab because I got this for last Halloween just as a stand-in. This is a Nerf sword, and it's quite tame. Because you could sort of think, I was trying to think how big a real sword would be. And to be fair, that's actually a good length for a real sort of normal sword. But when you compare it to that, I mean, there's no contest at all, is there? That is badass. And as you can see there, it's just straight, which is why that foam board is really, really good. I'm going to put my sword back. And in fact, hang on, let me show you what this is like with a shield. So I don't think I've shown the shield yet, which I'm going to make some improvements to. This is sadly one that I bought, but you'll get the idea. There you go. I think that is just a really, really good size. There you go. Put that on the wall in a minute. Hello again. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe and leave comments and all of that malarkey. If you think there's stuff I could have done better, if there's paint that you know is better for this, because as you can see, it's quite a shiny paint, which is fine because obviously the idea of this is that it's meant to be metal. What I'm going to do, which is a little trick that I learned from painting Warhammer all those years ago, is I'm going to get some silver paint, and you put some on the brush and you wipe most of it off. You don't use any water, you just wipe most of it off, and I'm just going to go over the edges around here, just a little bit, not overly so, and that'll make it look worn and look like the paint is scratched a little bit, and it'll just give so much more detail. that will completely change the look of the sword and make it look so much more authentic. As I say, the lines of the card that I used, you're not going to cover that up very well. It's just one of those things. It's what happens when you build a sword out of card. But I think I did pretty well. I'll put another video up. I'll let you guys know how it's gone, and probably the video after that will be me rushing to try and actually make my Link costume, because I haven't gotten that far. And this thing, what's the date today? It's the 30th of June 2014 today, and the con in London, LFCC, is on the 12th. That's the day that I'm going. I'm just going on the Saturday. So I think I've got time. I just need to, 1, acquire a sewing machine, and 2, learn how to use said sewing machine. Anyway, that's how I made that, and I think it turned out pretty awesome. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and like it or dislike it. I don't mind. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I've missed out on here. Like I say, in terms of this, you just sort of cut it, the width of this bit, roughly to how you think it should be, and you just gently fold it over the top, and you go, right, okay, I just need to cut a little bit thin, a little bit thinner. And once it's stuck and the glue is dry on there, like leave it for a whole day, even if it's stuck out by like 0.5 millimeter, you can sand that. Cheap sandpaper. I went to Poundland and got a sheet of like 10, a pack of like 10 sheets of sandpaper, and I only used 1 sheet of it, and yeah, it cost me £1. Lollipop sticks, again, Poundland, cost me £1. So yeah, let's go through how much this would cost you. So it was just 1 sheet of a huge thing of foam board, tenner, so £10 for that, and it was a lot bigger than that. It's sort of, well, I made this entire sword, and this isn't even from diagonal to corner, this is from edge to edge that I used it. So £10 for that, and so you've got so much more left to cut these extra bits out. Some of the detail there, the diamonds that I just guessed. I just made them big enough so you could actually see it, and I'm going to do some like gold paint up there and around here to meet the trifles. So that's £10 for that. Scalpel was about £1. This can of Cobra was about £5, which was really, really good. $4.99 was free delivery. Google it, because Amazon, like I say, they've got all the colours under the sun, but they didn't have this one. They might have restocked, but I found it on another website. It was a UK website, and it was the exact same price, and it's free delivery, and it's fantastic. This cost me £5.25, so about £5 just for some silver spray paint. I think it was like 80p for a very small paintbrush, which I will be using. And this was something done like a couple of £, just some enamel humroll stuff, which is gold. Number 16, there it says, net. So all in all, so you got £10 for the foam board, £10 altogether for the paints, let's call it. 25 quid, and you get something that you're pretty proud of at the end of the day, because the fun of cosplay is making stuff for yourself. I hadn't got the time or the creative capacity to start making shields and stuff like that. Maybe next time, maybe once I've done this, and if it turns out to be really, really cool, I'll keep this and I'll make a shield, which might be a little bit bigger, a bit thicker, because that is just like sheet metal, just flat. I might make one that's a bit more comical, like 3-dimensional and badass. So yeah, I think you're looking about 20 quid for something like that, and you've got, I barely used any paint out. I think this is kind of empty, but it's certainly enough to do like another coat and maybe another project that you're doing. But yeah, this is full. I don't know what I'm going to use this for now. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you guys think. And one last thing as well, be careful with knives and scissors. Be careful with spray paints and things. When you're spray painting, make sure it's in a well ventilated area. Don't do it in your room. It's bloody stupid. because well, you're going to start spray painting your floors as well. So just be careful with it all, and that's everything. Speak to you very soon, kids. I'm now going to play BioShock because it was on the Steam sale for £5, and I never finished it when it came out a few years back. So I'm going to give that a go. Cool. Ciao.